You heard what I said? You heard what I said? You heard what I said? Did you hear what I said? The reason why I'm asking all of you if you heard what I said, so that you can say it on 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm John Michael. That's what it's like being someone else meeting you, John Michael. Welcome to the 2019 National John Michael Convention. Yeah, look around you, John Michael. Do you see anyone else? No. Alone together, John Michael. Look over here. It's John Michael that biked here because he cares about the environment. Yes. And this John Michael over here cleaned his butthole before the convention. In fact, our butthole is the only thing we're really good at cleaning. To think of it. And this John Michael over here, right here, gave more money than all of you put together for our upcoming tour. Generous John Michael. When I'm criticizing the other John Michaels, I'm not talking about you, okay? Thanks for your non-tax deductible donation. Oh, and this John Michael right over here, right here. You, yes. You've never been to a convention before. You're a convention virgin. Which means, John Michael, you've never met yourself before. It's nice to meet you, John Michael. Oh, and this John Michael over here, right here. He got here before all of you. We had fun waiting, didn't we, John Michael?
Absolutely.
Yes. You told me a really funny joke.
I told a lot.
Yeah. Do you mind if I tell the joke?
Absolutely, go for it.
I mean, it's kind of my joke too, right?
Well, part of it.
Yeah. Okay, so you're going to be me, John Michael.
Gotcha.
And I'm going to be you, John Michael. Hey, John Michael, ask me why my bladder's so small.
Why is your bladder so small, John Michael?
To make room for my giant prostate. Can't miss it! Stop laughing at yourself, John Michael! You're not a joke! You do things you don't want to do. Other people call those things mistakes. It's why we're here at this convention. It's why it's an intervention of sorts. We are here to see ourselves doing the things we don't want to do so that we can break the cycle that is John Michael. Whenever there's a John Michael who shows up to work on time one whole week, there's another John Michael who on a recorded line at their call center job says, "B as in Bukaki." You're fired, John Michael, you're fired. Whenever there's a John Michael who puts things where they belong, there's another John Michael, where is he? Oh, right over here, who leaves their anal douche out on the restroom sink. A shared restroom, John Michael. Your poor, innocent, straight white man of a roommate. He came to you and asked you, John Michael.
It's an anal douche.
You're going to empathize with your...
What is this?
It goes in my butt to clean it before sex. I call it my butt butler. Whenever there's a John Michael who cleans the toothpaste scum because your roommate asked you to, there's another John Michael right over here who leaves the oven on for a third time this month, John Michael. Do you remember what your roommate said to you? Yes. But she also had words for my hand, John Michael. I understand
then you might be embarrassed to say it, but look around you. You're with friendly people. No one here is going to judge you. Your roommate said to you, I'm scared to be around you, John Michael. I think the reason why we do the things we don't want to do is because of how funny they are.
Bukkake, John Michael, you're at a party, and the host asks you to tell the Bukkake story. He gathers up friends that you don't know, and they're all paying attention to you, and you tell them that you used to work at a job that required work orders that began with the letter B. And everyone else at this job said B as in boy, but not you, John Michael. You didn't want to add to the patriarchy. So each new work order had a new B word. B as in boo, B as in buns, and one day you got to Bukkake. Everyone laughed at you, John Michael, except for one person who came up to you and said, John Michael, if you could, would you go back in time and not say B as in Bukkake to keep the $50,000 a year job, even though that would mean that you would not be able to tell this story?
No way.
Bad, John Michael.
No.
Bad. I've been a bad boy. Hey, did you hear what I just said? Did you hear what I just said? Did you hear what I just said? I'm asking all of you if you heard what I just said, so that you can say it on 3, 2, 1.
I've been a bad boy.
Yeah. Sit with that, John Michael. Hear how that feels. Yeah. The first step to fixing any problem is to admitting that there is a problem. How many apartments have you been kicked out of in the last 3 years that you lived in Chicago, John Michael? Say the number. 3. You're never gonna kill Voldemort if you don't say his name, John Michael. 9 apartments. You've been kicked out of 9. How many W-2s have you had in the calendar year of 2017, John Michael? How many? 11. Thinking about it, John Michael, I'd rather you guess over than guess under. That's a good thing. Your current man-child behavior makes other people think that your dead mom was a bad mom. Was your dead mom a bad mom?
No.
That's right, John Michael. You know, other people can meet your mom through your actions.
That's what my last one-man show was about.
Good, John Michael. Good, John Michael. There are 2 kinds of other people in our world, John Michael. Those that know us and those that don't. Those that know us aren't surprised anymore. Those that know us aren't surprised that you put your butt butler in your partner's backpack with butt water still in it. Those who have any sense aren't surprised to know that your partner's backpack had their MacBook Air in it, which is where they belong. Those that have any sense aren't surprised to know that your partner put that backpack on their back, because that's where backpacks go. You murdered their MacBook Air. John Michael. Death by douche, $800. Those that know you, John Michael, aren't surprised to know when you poured a hot bath one time, you did not check the water before getting in. So you jumped out, flailed your arms, hitting a coffee mug on the sink, which went ricocheting into the restroom sink, puncturing a hole, John Michael. Sinks aren't cheap. $800, John Michael. Those that know you, John Michael, aren't surprised that your red line vomit story has a plot twist. It's your fourth time vomiting publicly in the calendar year, so your friends don't feel too sorry for you, but they're not gonna let you to your own devices. They're there for you, and they keep getting up to throw up, but each stop is not the stop till Addison stop, which is where Wrigleyville is. And the doors open, John Michael, and as they open, you vomit on both panels, staring Cub fans. Oh no! Oh no! Your best friend yells,
"Find a trash can, John Michael."
great, you find a trash can, but to get to that trash can, you have to push a stranger out of the way. John Michael, I need you to push me out of the way. Get up and push me out of the way. Come on, John Michael. Good job. Now vomit, John Michael, vomit! That's your Uber! You get a text message from your partner that you've been in a healthy, committed relationship for the last 2 years. You might have been fired from 9 apartments. You might have been kicked out of 10 jobs, but you've never been dumped, John Michael. The text message from your partner from the Oregon Shakespeare Theater Festival says, "Are you still throwing up, John Michael?"
How did they know?
Because that stranger you pushed out of the way to get to the trash can was their ex-boyfriend, John Michael. What the fuck? What the fuck, John Michael? Those that know us aren't surprised to find out that your one-hitter fell out of your pocket at work. Your boss thought it was a cigarette. It is not a cigarette, John Michael. He waited for 2 hours to see who would claim this one-hitter, and then he saw you pick it up, and he brought you into his office, and he said,
I'm embarrassed for you, John Michael.
"Hey, John Michael? Yeah, you. Hey, I have a little question for you. If there was one thing in the whole entire world that other people could do to you, John Michael, what would it be?" Wait, I think for dramatic effect, I'm gonna have you ask me that question.
John Michael, what would you like other people to do to you?
Pay attention to me! Did you hear what I just screamed? Did you hear what I just screamed? What about you? You heard what I just screamed? Great. The reason why I'm asking all of you if you heard what I just screamed so that you can scream it. On 3, 2, 1. You can't always get what you want, John Michael, but if you try, you might just find you get what you need. And if you want other people to pay attention to you, maybe you need to pay attention to them. Yes. Yes. There's this thing called empathy. We're not very good at it, John Michael, at imagining what it's like to be someone else. But just because you're not good at something doesn't mean you shouldn't try. And we are going to try to empathize with someone. That is the point of this convention intervention. But don't worry, John Michael. I picked someone really easy to empathize with, our partner. I say easy because we all know what it's like to be in love with ourselves. I'm going to have all of you close your eyes. And when you open them, you will not see yourself. You will see another person. You will see the person that you care most about in this whole wide world. Everyone close your eyes. Keep them closed. Introducing the first guest speaker of the National John Michael Convention, the beautiful, the always right, the put together, John Michael's partner! Open your eyes! Hey, never in my wildest imagination would I be in a room with so many of you John Michaels. Oh, there's the John Michael that wakes up early to cook me breakfast. Oh, here's the John Michael that runs sides with me before an audition. And here's the John Michael, right over here, that does a boogie whenever I ask him to. Do the boogie, John Michael. Come, do the boogie. Do the boogie. Oh, yeah! Yeah, keep doing it, John Michael. Yeah! I love you so much. And here's the John Michael that I take with me as my +1 to opening nights of the Steppenwolf Theater. Oh, no, you don't have to do that. And here's the John Michael that makes me want to be a better person. I love y'all so much. There are other people out there, John Michael, who have yet to meet you. And I want them to meet the John Michael I'm in love with. Not the John Michael who gets fired from a $50,000 a year job for saying B isn't bukkake. Not the John Michael whose one hitter fell out at work. Not the John Michael who almost threw up on my ex-boyfriend that I'm trying to reconnect with, John Michael. You have this magic ability about you to turn anything negative into a positive. You say to me that you don't think you would be able to love as hard as you are if you didn't lose your mother. And I think that's beautiful. I really do. But sometimes I think you turn your misfortunes into punchlines, which begs to question, John Michael, are these things just happening to you, or are you welcoming them with open arms? Sometimes things need to stay negative so that you can fix them. Let's start with your credit score. End empathy. Do I hear a knife? Knife. Okay, great. I was just inside the person who's normally inside of us. Now for an empathy exercise that is also a metaphor. John Michael, you will be playing the role of your neighbor, and you are thirsty. You're a thirsty John Michael's neighbor. Hey, John Michael's neighbor, what would you like to drink? A lemonade. Hey, John Michael, you're going to be playing the role of your dad. Hey, John Michael's dad, what would you like to drink? A sweet tea. Hey, John Michael, you'll be playing the role of Greg. Hey, Greg, you're thirsty. What would you like to drink? An Arnold Palmer. Yeah. Okay, so I pour the drinks, and I put them on a tray, and I put my cup right in the center of all those cups. And, oh, I'll be playing the role of John Michael. And I will be having coffee black. And when I get to the top, I just don't stop. My cup overfloweth into your drink, and your drink, and your drink, changing the colors. Here we go. Here we go. I'll see, there's you. All right. A toast to a little bit of my coffee in your drink. You're welcome. Cheers. Hey, John Michael, do you remember when you left the fridge open? Yeah, your roommate sure remembers. You spoiled her food, John Michael. She texted you about it, a little angry, and you texted her back that you would be more than happy to buy,
groceries and that all you need is a list. What you didn't text her was that you were sorry.
Why?
Because recently you decided to establish a moratorium on the word sorry. And apologies all general because you say sorry so much that you don't mean it anymore and you want to give power back to the word by not saying it. Your roommate doesn't understand this and wants to ask you about it, and you're in your underwear. So she asks you about it and you say actions should speak louder than words and buying her groceries should suffice as the apology. But she says the solution to your problems, John Michael, should not be more John Michael and that you should hear her, but you don't hear her, and she points to your crotch. Point to my crotch. And then she screams. Can you scream? Because we're trying to empathize with our roommate. Scream, ah! And you look down at your crotch and your testicles are hanging out. I'm so sorry! I'm so sorry! I'm so sorry! You just spent 10 minutes explaining that you don't mean it when you say sorry, John Michael, so were you? She gave you a 30-day notice to move out. She asked you to not walk in the common areas without pants or shorts on. Hey, John Michael. Remember why you're not allowed to go to your therapist's restroom unaccompanied anymore? No? It's because of the incident. Look at their face! Look at their face when I bring up the incident! You're never going to kill Voldemort if you don't say his name. So we're going to walk through this together, John Michael. You have a new therapist. Not just new to you, but new to therapy. A grad student so that you can get a sliding scale. Clever, John Michael. Clever, John Michael. She likes you. She enjoys that you rehearse your one-man shows in therapy because they are kind of therapy. So it just makes sense. And she remarked that she doesn't have to talk as much with you, which is nice. It's all great. She doesn't mind that you go to the restroom like clockwork 28 minutes into every session because your bladder is so small to make room for your On the 10th session, you're running late. Your bike broke down and you had to run the last half a mile after locking it up. You get to the lobby and your therapist is there to inform you. Now, normally when you go to the restroom, you just take the second door to the left and out to the lobby. It's very simple, second door to the left. But the therapist informs you that on the 10th session, you will be in a different room than you've ever been in. You get into the room and you're really uncomfortable because you're sweating. So you ask your therapist,
Is it okay if I take my shirt off?
why not? I mean, it is your time, John Michael. So I want you to use it as you feel free to. Yeah, take your shirt off. Okay. 28 minutes into the session, you stand up to go to the restroom, and you take the second door to the left, but it is not the lobby. It is someone else's session. Scream at my flesh! Scream! 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 You copied all over their safe space, John Michael! You get back into the therapy room, John Michael, and you inform your therapist of what those screams were. And you realize that not only did you affect those two other people trying to work on their problems, you affected her as well. You realize by looking at her face that she's going to have to explain this to her supervisor. She's a good person. And if other people found that out about us, John Michael, I don't know if they would like us. John Michael? You right here, John Michael. You remember how you burnt the bridge with the artistic director? Yeah. Yeah. You met this artistic director at a physical theater workshop. And at the beginning of every workshop,
workshop, you had to do chicken walks, animal walks, and you started with a chicken walk across the floor of the theater, because this is supposed to make you a better actor. So you get to the end, and there's an artistic director who already finished, and you have something funny to say about chickens. So you go up to her, who is paying attention to the other classmates who are doing their chicken walks, and you are about to say something funny about chickens, and then you were shushed. You were put in your place, John Michael. She points to the other students, and you watch them do their chicken walks. And as you watch everyone do their chicken walks, you use what you observe to inform your chicken walk, and lo and behold, it was better. This is the first time in your life when you realize that paying attention to other people could be an advantage. This artistic director has such a vision. Oh my God, they're so smart, and they put you in place. Oh, you like to be put in place, John Michael. You want to hire her for your next one-man show, but it's all a process. You can't just ask her. You have to Facebook friend her. You have to like her posts. You have to comment on a few, and you definitely have to donate to her Indiegogo campaign. You almost definitely have to go to her shows, because the best way to get someone to see your show is to go to their show. She's in the house for meatball sales. And just to remind you, John Michael, it's a show where you summon your mother from the dead so that she can meet everyone. And the show was so good that you actually summoned her from the dead. And she met everyone. And when the show ended, she had to go back to being dead, but that's okay, because this artistic director is beaming at you, John Michael. You're going to be me, John Michael, and I'm going to be the artistic director, okay? Am I proud of you? Am I about to ask to work with you? Am I about to validate you? John Michael, that was outstanding. She kept talking, but you interrupted her by... Okay. You copied in her mouth, John Michael! Why? You kissed her on the lips! You just couldn't control yourself! Screw coffee metaphors! You literally put your voice hole on her voice hole, John Michael. Her boyfriend, who is your friend, is looking at you like you're no longer friends right now. People surrounding her are a little baffled. She pushes you away and says, "Stay away from me, John Michael." You apologize to her. You let her know that you got carried away. But each time you do that, John Michael, you seem to make her relive that trauma. You run into her about maybe once every other month, John Michael. And whenever you run into her at a play reading, at a opening night, at a party, you see the startled look of someone who's terrified that at any moment a madman is going to go up to them and kiss them on the lips. This is not the John Michael you want to be. You wish you could go back in time, but you can't, John Michael. You just can't. And you obsess about this. To your last count, you have 74 mutual friends on Facebook, and you ask each and every one of them,
what does she think of me?
Finally, someone takes pity on you just to shut you up, John Michael, and says, she thinks John Michael is too much. And at this moment, John Michael, you realize not everyone wants your coffee. Fuck you, John Michael! Fuck you! I'm sorry. I know it seems like I've been hard on all of you, but it's because I love you. It's because there are times when we treat people in ways we would never want to be treated. And the reason why I'm hard on you is because I know we can do better. And I know there are some times when people actually do want your coffee. And maybe you just need to learn a little balance. Maybe you should brew some decaf here and there. You know? There are people out there who love having you in the room because you see things in different ways. You make people smile. You make them breakfast, John Michael. Some people, a lot of people, want to fuck you, John Michael. That's awesome. Yeah, speaking of which, one of those people is our partner who is madly in love with you, who forgives you all the time. You two have just lived together in an experiment. For 2 months, you have lived in a sublet apartment while they were in Chicago, away from their break in Oregon. And they still love you. Because you put things back where they belong, John Michael. Because you turned the oven off. Because you did chores. Because you told them they were beautiful. They recently asked you to move to Oregon with them in March. And you said yes. You're just going to leave Chicago and start new. Tour your show so that the world can meet your mother. And there's going to be all these people, John Michael, who can meet the John Michael you want to be. And not everyone has to know how funny you are. There are these people who seek you, John Michael, for grieving. Because you make such a public display about it. They want to know how you can be so happy after such loss. And for the longest time, you said these cliche things like the fact that it hurts means that you still love them. And you always wanted to find the right thing to say, John Michael, but you eventually realized that there is no right thing to say when someone lost someone. And that maybe you should think about how you would want to be talked to, and how your favorite thing is when someone finds out that your mother is no longer here, is when they ask you about her.
Tell a story back in
Okay, so the highways, I'm talking to Chicagoans here. The highways in Texas are 60 stories high, okay? And my mother would always ride in the passenger seat, and I was in the back seat, and I was like 4 or 5, and she would look back into me in all seriousness and say, "I'm scared to die, John Michael. Don't look down. Don't look down, John Michael. I don't want to die." It's a good story. But when you ask these people stories about the people they just lost, they begin to tell these wonderful moments and experiences, and all of a sudden, those people are in the room, and you know more about life. There was this one story that you love, a story that you were told by someone who loves your mother so much. Your mother's friend was dying. You were in about 4th grade, although that's not really important. And your mother's friend was just told that she had a few days left to live. And your mom went into the hospital room, and it was full of people crying and sad. And she looked at the face of her friend who had 2 days left to live. And it wasn't a face of fear. It wasn't a face of sadness. It was a face of being bored with the sadness. So your mother looked dead in the eye, no pun intended, with her friend and said, "Just because you're about to die doesn't mean you have to stop started cackling, your mother brought life into the room. You can summon her whenever you want to. Whenever you want to put things back where they belong, you just have to think about your dad's organization skills. You can use your partner's put-togetherness to raise your credit score. You can use insert positive attribute about Greg to make your life better. The answer to your problems isn't yourself, it's paying attention to other people. It's not all about you.